Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coding with Colt. First of all, I'd really like to ask everybody to quickly hit the subscribe button down below and like the video. I'd really appreciate it. Second, I know I've been gone for a little bit. Had the Christmas holidays, New Year's holidays to keep me busy, and then back to work. I'm a school teacher, so went back to work in January. So I've been a little bit busy, but I've got a whole bunch of videos planned for us over the next couple of weeks. This was going to be a really super short video, or at least I hope it's super short. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to make a dice rolling application in Python. I'm a big gamer. Absolutely love games, from board games to role-playing games, and so I roll dice a lot. And I thought that'd be a perfect little program to write. It would be a dice rolling application. And I'm going to use a slightly different IDE today. I'm going to use Thonny or Thony, which is a IDE designed specifically for Python. It's built into the Raspberry Pi, and that's what I'm using. I use the Raspberry Pi for pretty much all of my Python videos. I absolutely love the Raspberry Pi. I'll put a link below where you can buy one on Amazon. It's not an affiliate link. I'm not getting paid. But if you'd like to buy a complete Raspberry Pi 4 kit, I'll put a link down below. All right, so let's get started. As I said, I'm going to use a slightly different IDE. Normally, I like to use an IDE called Genie. Genie is an all-purpose IDE. You can configure it for just about any language. It's easy to use, it's fast, and the thing I like about it is it's simple. Oftentimes for new programmers, the tools get in the way. And I don't think that the tools should ever get in the way of learning a language. And so Genie's a really simple IDE. However, Thonny or Thony, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, is designed specifically for Python. And I'm going to use that one today. So I'm going to fire it up, start it up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a simple little application. Oftentimes in gaming, you'll have to roll a number of dice, and it's always abbreviated something like 4d6. Okay, actually I'm going to put that up here, 4d6. And the first number tells you how many dice to roll. And then the number after the D tells you how many sides that dice should have. So this would tell us roll 4 six-sided dice and add the results together. Or you might see something like 8d6. And same thing. That means roll 8 six-sided dice and add the results together. Or, 3d4 means roll 3 four-sided dice and add the results together. And so we're going to write a little application, and all it's going to do is it's going to ask the user how many times they want to roll the dice and the number of sides that dice would have. And we're going to learn a little bit about random numbers. We're going to learn a little bit about looping, such as while loops, and we're going to learn a little bit about user protecting our program. What I mean by that is preventing some common errors. For example, if the user, if you ask them how many dice to roll, and you're expecting a number and they type in a letter, that could cause some issues. And so we're going to take a look at some ways to detect that. So let's get started. I'm going to make this full screen. All right, I've never used Thonny before, so if I have a little difficulty, please forgive me. But the first thing we're going to do is we need the random module. And random provides just that, a whole bunch of different functions for random number generation. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a little variable. I'm going to call it running. And what this is just a variable. I could have called it anything I wanted. I called it running because it's going to basically detect, as long as we're running the application, it's going to stay true. This is a Boolean or Boolean type variable. Boolean variables can only have two values, true or false. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say while true. Okay, or what we could do, while running equals true. So while our variable named running has the value of true, we're going to do this while loop over and over and over again. And notice when I pressed enter, it automatically indented for us. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say sides equals input. And by the way, this is all Python 3. This is all Python 3, so you need to have Python 3 installed. So while sides equals input, let's see here. How many sides does this dice have? So what this is going to do is it's going to ask the user, how many sides does this dice have? And you're going to type in something, and it's going to assign that result to this variable that we called sides. I could have named it anything I wanted to. In fact, I could have called it maybe something like dice sides. There we go. But I just called it sides. In fact, let's run this and see how it's going. So I click run, and I got to save it. I'm just going to call it dice roller. I wonder if it's automatically going to add the py.py. I'm going to put it on my desktop for now. Actually, no, I'm going to put it in documents. Actually, we go to home. Okay, I've got a little coding directory here that I made. I'm going to put it there. I'm just going to click OK. All right, yeah, right down here. How many sides does this dice have? And I type in 6. And it's just going to do that over and over and over again until I press Control C. There we go. Control C to exit out. Because that loop never exits. It's going to ask us how many sides does this dice have. It's going to assign that value to sides. It's going to go back up to here. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to ask how many times to roll the dice. So we're going to say rolls equals input how many times to roll this dice. I suppose the singular is die, and we'll do that. So same thing. It's going to ask how many times to roll this die, and whatever we type in, it's going to assign to the variable that we called rolls, which once again, I could have named anything that I wanted to. All right. Oh, you know what we got to do? Because we're going to do a total, I've got to make a little variable called total up here at the top, set it equal to 0 to start. So now what we want to do is we want to go through a loop. And each time through that loop, we want to generate a random number and add it to total. And also what we could do is print out the current roll. So let's do that. So I think what we'd do is we'd say something like for x in range rolls. I'll explain this in just a minute. Let's see here. Roll equals random.randint 1, 2 sides. There we go. Yeah, I think that'll work. And then we want to print this out. Oh, let's do this. Total equals total plus roll. I'm going to show you guys a couple shortcuts here in just a second. And then we're going to print, let's see here, x plus 1. And I'll explain this in just a second. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, so let's explain this. Like, let me just do a little space in between there to kind of separate everything. Oh, I've got an error. Actually, I've got a couple of errors. Some of them are on purpose. Occasionally, I make errors on purpose just to kind of, as a teaching moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into what's called a for loop. And that loop is right here. And what we do is we say, hey, let's do a loop that ranges from essentially all the way up to our roles variable. Let's say the user typed in 8 for roles. What that means is we're going to do this loop 8 times. And we're going to start counting at 0, as you'll see, and that's important. Our for loop is going to start at 0. It's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0 through 7 is 8 times. Each time through the loop, x is going to get the value of the current time through the loop. So what we're going to do is we are going to generate a random number. That's what this does. Random.randint from 1 to the number of sides. Now, something you need to know is that randint includes this upper value. What I mean by that is, let's say once again we typed in 8 for the number of sides. That means randint will give us a number ranging anywhere from 1 all the way up to and including 8. Okay? Unlike range, which once again, if we remember, let's say we typed in 10 for roles. Okay? Let's say we typed in 10. It's going to range from 0 through 9. We're going to get 10 roles. But the maximum is roles minus 1 because we started at 0. So we're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's something that new Python programmers get confused about a lot. Okay, but randint includes that upper range, and range does not. All right, so then we're going to keep a running total. We're going to say total equals total plus roll. And then we're going to print it out. That's what this does. Now remember, it starts out at 0. So we're going to print the roll number, which is going to be x plus 1. So the first time it's going to be 1, a little colon, and then the roll, the number we rolled. And then once we exit the loop, we're going to print the total. This \n prints a new line. I could have included it on here if I wanted to, but I decided not to. Now we're going to run it, and I'm going to warn you, it's not going to work for a very specific reason, but I want to demonstrate something. So I click run down here. How many sides does this dice have? Or does this die have? Let's just do a standard 6-sided dice. So far, so good. How many times to roll this dice? Let's roll it 10 times. And this is where the trouble begins. Uh-oh, it didn't work. It says, here's our file. It's in line number 10, which is this line right here. String object cannot be interpreted as an integer. And what's going on is this. Whenever we use the input function, whatever the user types in is converted to a string type. Remember, a string variable is a series of letters and numbers that is interpreted as text, not as a number. So what we're trying to do here, when we say for x in range roles, is we're essentially giving it a letter or text and not a number. So we have to convert it to a number. So here's what we're going to do. There's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say sides equals int sides. And over here, roles equals int roles. So what this does, the int function will convert whatever's in here, whatever value we have in there, into an integer. And so we do that with our roles variable also. And by the way, these spaces that I put in here, they are not needed. That confuses some beginners. I just do it for readability. Some people like it, some people don't. Do whatever is best for you. All right. So now it should work if I don't have any other errors. All right, how many sides does this die have? So once again, let's go with the standard 6-sided dice. How many times to roll it? Let's go with 10. And it worked. So once again, this is roll number 1, we got a 3. Roll number 2, we got a 6. Roll number 3, we got a 6. Roll number 4, we got a 4. Roll number 5, we got a 4. Roll number 6, etc. And then it gave us a total. Our total was 38. And then it does it again. How many sides does this die have? Let's go with the 4-sided die and let's just roll it 3 times. And so we got roll number 1 was a 3, roll number 2 was a 3, roll number 3 was a 4, total was 10. Let's make sure our math is right. 4, 7, 10. So far so good. Here's a problem. Problem number 1 that I'm going to address is that we have no way to exit out other than pressing Control C. So let's give the user a way to exit out. So let's do this. Let's say do again equals input. I'm just going to say roll again. How about that? That should work. And then what we'll do, and let's do this. Roll again. We're going to have them type in just a Y or an N. And then what we're going to say, if do again dot upper equals no in break. And I'll explain break in just a second. Otherwise, we're going to print, once again, a new line. And then here we will end and we'll say print thanks for playing. All right, let's make sure this works. Oh, well, let me explain it. What we're going to do is we're going to have the user, once again, type in either a Y or an N. And what this does, if do again, that's our variable. We could have called it anything we wanted to, once again. Anything we wanted to, as long as it followed Python naming rules. What this does, it's supposed to be a period, is it's going to convert whatever we type in into uppercase. That way we don't have to check for the uppercase and lowercase. So if they use the lowercase, it's going to convert it to uppercase. If they use uppercase, it's already uppercase. If it's no, we're going to say break. And what break does, break exits out of the current loop. Our current loop is this while loop that's going over and over and over and over again. So what will happen is it will exit out of that loop and go down to the next unindented instruction, which is this, which just says, thanks for playing, and we're done. If they type in anything else at all, it doesn't matter. If they type anything else at all, it's just going to give us a new line and go back up to the top. Let's run it and see. How many sides does this die have? How about 4? How many times to roll it? Let's go with 2. Roll again. Let's type Y. And there we go. How many sides? Let's go with 5 sides. Roll it twice. Roll again. Let's say N. No. Thanks for playing. There we go. All right. I want to show you a couple little shortcuts real quick before we move on. First of all, this right here, this total equals total plus roll. That pattern occurs so much in programming where you've got a variable on the left and you are incrementing or decrementing it, or, basically you're using it on the right. Now there's a shortcut. We could actually say total plus equals roll. And that's just a shortcut for total equals total plus roll. If we were subtracting, we could actually do minus equals. Okay. Now up here, another traditional shortcut. We say while running equals true. Remember, double equals signs in Python test for equality. There's a shortcut where we just say while true, or while running. I'm sorry. While true would give us a infinite loop. While running. So that's just a shortcut that says while this variable is true, do all of this. All right, let me demonstrate the next couple of issues that we have. How many sides does this die have? Well, it has S sides. That doesn't make any sense to us, does it? you'll notice it doesn't make any sense to Python either. And same thing, even if we gave it the number of sides, 3, but if we said how many times to roll the dice, and we put p times once again, doesn't make any sense. It's saying a value error. Invalid literal for int with base 10. Basically, it doesn't know what to do with p. We are expecting right here when we convert it, if you'll notice, it's line number 11, which is the line that we convert rolls, whatever's in rolls, into an integer. And it's basically saying, hey, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to convert this to an integer. So there's a few different things that we can do. Oh, the other thing is, a couple other things. How many sides does this dice have? It's got 0 sides. Once again, it doesn't know what to do. Okay? And so we need to, let me hit stop. It should have, I must have done something wrong. How many sides does this have? 0. And now, if we say roll it 3 times, weird stuff happens. So what we got to do is we got to, number one, make sure that the user's typed in an actual number. And number 2, that the number of sides is basically greater than 1. And same thing with the number of times to roll. We need to make it greater than 0. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set a couple of variables here. And I guess you can call these sentinel variables if you wanted to. Rolls and sides. I'm going to set rolls and sides equal to 2 things they should never, ever, ever, ever be equal to. The letters A. They should never, ever be equal to the letter A. And what we're going to do is we're going to test for that. We're going to say while sides dot is numeric. Equals false. And I'll explain this in just a second, so if you'll give me just a second. Sides equals input. How many sides does this die have? And then what we got to do, oops, why did that happen? Oh, I know why. Once again, don't worry, I will explain this. Let's see here. I think that will work. Let's give this a try now. So, what we're going to do is numeric, sides.isNumeric. What this does is it tests to see, is sides a number? Does it contain a number? Can I successfully convert this to a number? If that's equal to false, that means, hey, there's not a number in this variable. It's something else. And so we're going to ask the user, hey, how many sides does this dice have? Then we're going to test it. If sides is numeric equals false, okay, we're going to tell them you got to enter a number. And what continue does is it continues the current loop. It's going to jump up to this while loop because that's the current loop that it's in. Okay, this continue belongs to this while loop. And then finally, if we get to here, we know sides has to have a number in it. Okay, so once again, I'm setting, because my while loop is going to test, is it numeric? I'm setting a variable, a sentinel variable basically, that contains information that isn't numeric. So the very first time through, this while loop is going to fail, and we're going to ask the user, okay, how many sides does it have, and then test if it's numeric, and then if it's not, continue. So let's give it a try. How many sides does this die have? It has A sides. You must enter a number. How many sides does it have? It has this many sides. Whoops. It has this many sides. You must enter a number. All right, let's enter a number, 4. And it was successful. So how many times to roll it? We want to roll it 4 times, and there it worked. Roll again, no. So now you should be able to do the same thing for our rolls variable. Pause the video and see if you can write the while loop that's going to test for the rolls variable. So pause it and come back in just a minute and we will write it together and see if you were right. All right, welcome back. If you pause the video, so it should look almost exactly the same. We're going to say while rolls.isNumeric equals false. And then we've got to indent, whoops, not that one, this one, because it's now part of this while loop right here. And then we're going to say if rolls.isNumeric, same thing, equals false. We're going to print you must enter a number. And then once again, we're going to continue. And there we go. That should work. Let's give it a try. All right, how many sides? We already know that part works, so we're going to do 6 sides. How many times to roll it? We're going to roll it F times. Oh, how many times to roll it? We're going to roll it Y times. How many times to roll it? We're going to roll it 2 times. There we go. Roll again. No. All right, so far, so good. Now what we need to do, I think, is we need to check for the number of sides. Make sure the number of sides is greater than 1. So let's see here. That's going to occur before we assign. No, we can do it afterwards, I think. We'll just do it here. All right. So that's going to be inside of this while loop, where basically this is the loop where we're getting the number of sides. We can say if int sides, because we already know now. We absolutely know. And you know what? We could do that. Let's try it. All right. So now we'll check to make sure if sides is less than 2. Yeah, if it's less than 2. So we need 2 or more. Okay, if sides is less than 2, we're going to print you must have a minimum of 2 sides. And then what we're going to do, because the user has messed up, we're going to print side. We're going to make sides equal to A again. Because what that's going to do is we're going to come back up to here and ask the user again. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause this test to fail. Okay? Or actually, it's going to cause this test to fail, and we're going to do all this. Or it's going to cause it to pass, excuse me. I think that should work. So let me just kind of explain that again. I didn't do a very good job. We're going to set sides equal to the letter A. That's going to come up to here, and it's going to say, while sides is numeric equals false, it will be false because it's going to be equal to A. It's not a number. So that test passes. Okay, it passes. And it's going to do all this over again. Let's see if it works. How many sides? Once again, we're going to go with 1 side. Okay. You must have a minimum of 2 sides. How many sides? Let's go with 2. Uh-oh, we got something wrong. Int object has no attribute is numeric on line 10. Oh, so we got something wrong here. Let's see. How many sides does this die have? 2. If sides dot is numeric equals false, print you must enter a number. So continue. Sides equals int sides. If sides is less than 2, while sides that is numeric equals false. Oh, let me try this. Yeah, we got to do this outside of the while loop. Let's give that a try. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I needed to make this assignment outside of the while loop. It was never making it to it. Okay. So now what I want you to do, we know that the number of times to roll the dice has to be a minimum of 1. See if, based upon what I did up here, you can make those same changes here. So pause the video, see if you can make them, and then come back to it. All right, let's go ahead and make those changes. It's really going to be almost exactly the same thing. We're going to say if int rolls is less than 1. Yeah, less than 1. Print, you must have a minimum of 1 roll. And so then, once again, we're going to say rolls equals A, and we're going to continue. All right, that should work, so let's give it a try. All right, how many times to roll this die? Whoops, I think we forgot to stop last time. Okay, now let's hit run. All right, how many sides? Let's go with a 4-sided dice. How many times to roll it? Let's go with 0. Oh, you must roll a minimum of 1 roll. Let's try 1. Make sure that works. And we did it. We rolled it 1 time. We got a roll of 1 and total of 1. Roll again. Let's say yes. It's got 6 sides. We want to roll it once, and there we rolled it once. Got roll of 5. Let's roll again. Let's go 66. And can I make this bigger? I can. All right. So how many sides does it have? 6. We rolled it 6 times, and those are the values we got. So we don't want to roll it again. All right. Well, let's go over this one more time, real quick. Just so you make sure that you understand it. We're going to import the random module because we're going to be working with random numbers. We're going to set our loop. We're going to have a variable that controls whether we're in that while loop called running. And we're going to set it equal to true. I just realized we never actually set it equal to false. I suppose what we could have done, let's give this a try. Running equals false, and that should do the same thing. How many sides? 6 times to roll. Roll again. Nope. And there we go. It worked. Okay. So what we did was we set our sentinel variable, our while loop variable, running equal to false here. If we enter no, and so then it goes all the way back up. Running is no longer true, and so it exits. All right. We're going to set the number of rolls and the number of sides equal to letter A because that's a nonsensical value. And we're going to test for nonsensical values. And as long as rolls and sides has a nonsensical value in it, we're going to keep trying to get the user to enter in a value that makes sense. We're going to set our total equal to 0. All right, then what we're going to do, this right here controls getting the input for the number of sides. We're going to say, hey, while the sides variable is not numeric, while it contains something other than a number, okay, while it equals to false, We're going to ask the user how many sides does the dice have. Assign that to the sides variable. Then we're going to say if it is not numeric, if is numeric is false, meaning it doesn't have a numeric value in it, we're going to tell the user, hey, you got to enter in a number, and continue goes back up to this while loop right here. Now, if it does contain a number, if is numeric is true, it does contain a number, that's going to drop us down to here. And we're going to say if if the number of sides is less than 2, we're going to tell them you need to have a minimum of 2 sides, and then set sides equal to a nonsensical value again, and go all the way back and up and do this again until they enter in a number, not a letter, a number that is 2 or greater. Once that occurs, that's going to drop right to here. And we're going to convert our sides. Remember, sides contained a string variable. We're going to convert it into a number. All right, we do the same thing. I'm not going to explain it because it's exactly the same. We do the same thing with the rolls variable to get the number of rolls. Then we just go into a little loop, a for loop, and we say for x in range rolls. So all the way up to the number of rolls we said minus 1. Now remember though, we start counting at 0, so you're going to get that total number of rolls. If we told it 4 rolls, it's going to start counting at 0, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to get 4 rolls. And then we say roll equals random.randint from 1. That's going to give us a random integer from 1 to the number including the number of sides. We're going to add that to our total. And then we're going to print out, okay, the roll number. And remember, the roll number is going to be the roll number plus 1. Okay. We're going to print out a colon and then the current roll. Then when this for loop exits, when it's done it all, it's going to print out the total and a new line. And then we're going to ask the user, do they want to do it again? We're going to convert their whatever they said into an uppercase letter. And if they enter lowercase n or uppercase n, we're going to set running equal to false, meaning that when it goes all the way back up here to the top, it's going to be false, and it's going to exit out right here. I hope you understood that. If you've got any questions, put them down in the comments below. Once again, I really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and liked. I got some really good videos coming up here over the next week or two. The next game we're going to do is we're going to do a version of the classic game of Asteroids. In fact, as soon as I shut this video off, I'm going to start writing the code for the Asteroids game. And then I've got some fun stuff that I'm going to try hardware-wise. I've got some hardware that I'm going to review, and we're going to make the Raspberry Pi into a retro gaming console, the Raspberry Pi 4 into a retro gaming console. We are going to take a look at some really nice cases for the Raspberry Pi. And we're going to look at some classic video games with my Atari VCS. So anyways, like it, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, today was a great day to learn how to code. Thank you. Bye-bye.